Hey everyone, Mr. DVB here. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Eternals, which is the newest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the third MCU film this year, and the third film in Phase 4 of the franchise. So, going into this movie, I was really not excited for it. I know there are some people out there who were incredibly excited for this film and could not wait for it. I was not one of those people. This is a group of characters who I knew virtually nothing about. I didn't think the trailers did anything special whatsoever. It didn't make me excited to see these characters or to learn who they were. It just looked very bland from the trailers, and so I went into this with just really, really low expectations. To add to that, all the reviews came out and they were surprisingly mixed. This is the first MCU film to ever receive a Rotten rating. I think it has a 48 or a 49 right now, which is pretty low for MCU standards. I don't usually care a whole lot about what movies get on Rotten Tomatoes, and they don't often affect my opinion on the movie. But I was still surprised nonetheless just to see an MCU film hit this low of the score. Because even though I wasn't excited for this movie, I was still expecting it to hit an 80 or something like that, just because that's what Marvel movies usually do. But this surprisingly hit a low number, especially with such a good director behind it, someone who is literally won Best Director and Best Picture. So I was surprised with the reviews. But anyways, all of that out of the way, what did I think of this movie as somebody who went into it not being excited for it with low expectations and whatnot? I thought it was okay. I really don't think this is a very good Marvel movie. I would put it pretty low in my ranking, I think, but I'm not quite ready to do a ranking or anything like that. I probably need to see this film a second time before I can really determine where I would put it in a ranking. I still want to see Shang-Chi a second time. I'm not going to watch either of these movies in theaters again, but I'm just not going to do a ranking or anything anytime soon. But with all that being said, yeah, this movie, there's a lot happening in this movie. It is a really, really long film. It's the second longest MCU film. It definitely feels like the longest. There was times where this movie was dragging for me for sure, mainly towards the third act. I also had to urinate really badly, so that probably added to the dread. But yeah, there's just a lot going on in this movie, and I think at times it's just too much going on for what this film was trying to do, because this is introducing us to a huge group of characters. I don't even know how many members there are. There's probably 10 or so, and it definitely feels like there's maybe 3 main ones, and then the rest are kind of just there. And the 3 main ones are the ones that I liked the most. Everybody else was very forgettable. I can't even tell you half of their names. I could tell you the names of 4 of them, maybe 5. I don't know. A lot of them were just really forgettable characters, in my opinion. As for the story, this movie focuses, like I said, on a new group of characters called the Eternals, who are these immortal beings that were sent to Earth thousands of years ago by the Celestials, which are these really big beings that create life and whatnot, so that they could protect Earth from deviants, which are these alien creatures that feed on living, animals, people, whatever. Deviants return after all these years, and the Eternals have to reunite after centuries to stop the end of the world and defeat the Eternals, or defeat the Deviants once and for all. So, yeah, like I said, this movie is just introducing a lot, right? You're introducing the Celestials, you're introducing the Eternals, Deviants, and while all that's going on, you're also cutting between 2 timelines, because this movie takes place during modern times, where they're trying to stop the current threat, and it's also cutting back every once in a while to the past, at multiple different points in the past, to kind of build upon our characters and their relationships, because in this movie, the group is all split up. They are all at different places in their lives and, across the world and whatnot, so these characters are reuniting, and while that's happening, you're also discovering why they split up. And I think just because this movie's doing both of those things and it's setting up all these other things, at times it just gets really jumbled and can be kind of messy, which is unfortunate, because there are certainly some things here that I did like. It's already been talked about by many people. The cinematography is really good here. It's definitely one of the better looking films in the MCU from a cinematography standpoint, because like all of the other films in Phase 4 still so far, this movie has pretty shoddy CGI. I would definitely say it's better CGI than Shang-Chi and better than Black Widow, especially the final act of Black Widow, but it's still got a lot of CGI moments that just don't look very good. But the actual cinematography itself is good here. The color grading is very good for once, which is nice to see. It's not just a gray MCU film that has no color grading. So it is a nice movie to look at, so all of that's good. And there were certainly some moments where I could tell what they were trying to go for, and they were trying to go for more deeper character moments than we've seen before in the MCU. But like I said, these characters, they just don't get a lot of time to really be developed because it's trying to throw in so many things. So these emotional moments that are supposed to work, and I can definitely tell what they're trying to go for, they just end up kind of failing. And it's a shame because, like I said, I think if those moments were executed as they were hoping to be, I think it would have worked quite well. And this would have been one of the more mature MCU films. But yeah, it doesn't always work. There was maybe like one moment where I thought it was actually well handled, and that's it. As for the characters go, I talked about how a lot of them are kind of just there in this movie. There were a few that I liked. I thought Cersei, who is definitely the main character, I liked her quite a bit. I thought she was a decent character. I liked Icarus, who I just thought was one of the more interesting characters in the movie. There's some cool stuff with him. I thought his action scenes were pretty cool as well. You know, he flies around, he shoots lasers from his eyes, yada, yada, yada. And, yeah, those are the two characters that I liked. Everybody else was just kind of there. I don't know. That's kind of the problem. It's just I can't even remember half of their names. And a lot of them just don't end up really doing much. So, yeah. I don't know. The action here, it was solid. I wouldn't say it was jaw-dropping or anything like that, but there was definitely some good sequences. It's all like very VFX heavy because these characters all have special powers and they're fighting alien creatures, but I did like the way that some of the sequences were handled. I liked how they incorporated each of the characters' individual abilities because they all have like one ability. One character can punch really hard, another character can shoot lasers, another character can run really fast, and they definitely showcase that all very well with the way the action sequences are handled. So I thought the action was good in the movie. But yeah, I don't know. Another thing that did not work for me was the humor. I think this film failed the vast majority of the time from a comedic standpoint. There was like one character here who I did think was funny, and they were kind of just randomly tagging along the entire movie. They felt sort of out of place, but they were still a very funny character in my opinion. But yeah, the majority of the humor just was not funny. It was like awkward MCU humor, and the kind of humor where there's like only one guy in the theater who laughs at it, and he's the guy who laughs really loud and obnoxious. Luckily, there wasn't a guy like that at my showing, but it was just awkward because a lot of the people just didn't laugh at the jokes, and it's supposed to be funny, and it's just like crickets in the theater. It was awkward. So, yeah, I don't know. Overall, I mean, the movie, visually, it's good, sure. I liked, two of the characters. The action was pretty solid for the most part, but there's just too much going on to this in the story. It's jumping around too much, so it's kind of messy. And there's just some really, really exposition-heavy scenes. I mean, I'm not somebody who normally complains about exposition in movies because it's just a thing. Like, I don't really care about it much. But there was one scene in particular where there's this one character which is kind of explaining everything, like, ever. And it's just like, why are you telling this specific character this? Like, it's just such an audience, here's what's going on moment. And the film has a lot of that. So, yeah, I don't know. Overall, Eternals, it's a movie that had promising elements, but I just think the amount of things thrown in here stopped it from ever reaching those heights. And yeah, it's one of the more MCU films.
By who?
So I think it's a bad movie. No. Would I recommend it? No. But if you're planning on seeing it anyways because you like the MCU, go ahead. I mean, you're not going to really care about what my opinion is anyways. I'm not the kind of person who's going to stop you from seeing a film just by giving my thoughts. So yeah, I don't know. There you go. Those are my thoughts on Eternals. I wasn't disappointed because I went in with super low expectations, but I just wasn't really impressed all that much. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Eternals. Very long-ass movie. Like, it felt 3 hours. There was definitely times towards the end where I was like wanting it to end really badly, mainly because I had to urinate, but whatever. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the movie. Thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know what you thought of it down below, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.